Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amritveer Singh Kharbanda, and I'm a third-year student here at the Asper School of Business. And I'm so thrilled to be running to be your next Commerce Student Association president. Before I get into my campaign, I want to talk about my journey a bit and how it led me to where I am today. Just imagine arriving to Canada from a different country and not knowing about culture or the different environment. I landed on Winnipeg on Christmas of 2019, wearing a fleece and a jeans, and that was the biggest mistake of my life because I was freezing. So, different country. I landed in Winnipeg, yeah. So from things like cultural differences to extreme cold, I was fighting my battles. I started my journey at the International College of Manitoba, aspiring to be an Asper student. After I was admitted into Asper, amid the pandemic, I joined the Co-op Association as an executive assistant, which was the best decision of my life because that was my first experience working for a student association and helping the Asper students. Serving CSA as the Vice President of Corporate Relations, it made me change the whole view of the student associations. How can I help Asper students more? How can you make more connections? And most importantly, gain friends. My journey as from an overwhelmed international student to running to be your next CSA president is a motivating and a very difficult journey. And I'm confident that CSA and Asper played a big part in that journey. Now let me ask everyone a question. What do you think about when you think about CSA? Don't say your answer, just think about it. The CSA is not just about one president, 8 executives, 60 general council members. It's about all the Asper School of Business students who are already automatically a part of CSA when they're admitted into the program. When we say all students, we need to keep in mind that diversity is there and everyone starts at different advantages and disadvantages. And we need to make sure to acknowledge them. That brings me to my first platform, accessibility. Commerce Student Association provides a number of different events and initiatives throughout the year, but what always concerned me that how can we make CSA's culture and practices more accessible so that students don't have to think twice about ticket prices, how to get involved more, and resources that are available for them. Moreover, there is so much room to grow in CSA's reimbursement policies, and I will make sure that the number of scholarships and funding opportunities are being increased and allocated to students who will be most impacted by them, with heavily focus on international students and students with financial need. The second platform of my campaign is affiliation. The CSA offers a number of events and initiatives every year, but few questions that always kept in my mind was, how can CSA get involved outside of Asper? How can we expand it? And how can we make sure that we welcome other student bodies into our Asper community? We can do it by affiliating with other faculties at the University of Manitoba. This will open the door to Asper students and make sure that they have that opportunity to grow and educate themselves. I have planned to have constant communication with other faculties to plan and execute numerous extensive inter-faculty events and make sure that students are getting that opportunity to meet with other students' bodies and exchange their wisdom. My goal will be to connect our student bodies with the help of our faculty and make sure that we are having a lot of new events and initiatives with other faculties as well, and make sure that all the corporate partners from each faculty are there so that students can gain more knowledge. The third platform of my campaign is advocacy. Advocacy is a very general term and things can get lost in it. As student leaders, it is our responsibility to make sure that every student concern is being addressed and addressed. As student leaders, it is our responsibility to make sure that these voices are being heard and practical solutions are being made. My ultimate goal as a CSA president will be to advocate students' concern effectively and make sure that each and every concern is welcome and professionally acted upon. Whether it's an academic, professional development, or a personal concern, I will make sure to have an open feedback relationship with the Dean's office and the faculty so that the problems faced by students can be acknowledged properly and concrete solutions are being produced. I hope everyone can relate to something that I said today, and I want to urge everyone to think about these things when you go out to vote next week. Let's work together to make a more accessible CSA, a more accessible Asper. Let's work together to expand our horizon with affiliating with other faculties and make sure we advocate for our students in a professional and educational manner. Lastly, I want to say me, Amritveer Singh Kharbanda, is running to be your next CSA president, so please keep that in mind when you go to vote next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrit. I'd like to call up Betty Mae to deliver her speech.
Awesome. So hello everyone. I just wanted to start off by welcoming you all and thanking you for taking the time to be here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mae Ferrer. I'm a third-year student majoring in human resources and marketing here at the Asper School of Business, and I'm thrilled to be running to be your next CSA president. Before I get into a few of my campaign points, let me tell you a little bit about myself and my journey with the CSA. My love for student involvement started at my very first day here at Asper. I was fortunate enough to have been voted in during a remote learning year as your first CSA first year representative. Since then, my passion for student advocacy has only grown as I've gotten more involved in the CSA. I've held general counsel positions like Shinorama co-chair, and it's been my absolute pleasure to have been voted in and serve as your CSA Vice President Internal for the past year. But in all honesty, the most important thing you need to know about me is that I'm a person who genuinely cares for students, their success, and their well-being. And that's the reason why I'm standing here today, because of all of you. I've heard so many amazing conversations with students this past week, and they've been so open with the experiences they've had in Asper, and it's inspired me to make the changes that they want to see in the next year. Coming back onto campus has been a huge learning curve for everyone. Now that we've seen what it's like in an in-person year, I see so much potential for student development and involvement. The Commerce Students Association strives to enrich the undergraduate experience here at Asper, and my campaign centers around tangible initiatives that make sure that you have the tools to get the most out of it. To start off, I want to promote inclusivity at all levels of the CSA. We've made huge strides in the past year in making sure our council is reflective of our student body through emphasizing EDI practices in our recruitment. But I want to expand this thinking and prioritize making our events more accessible to CSA students. That means using the knowledge and feedback we've gained in the past year to restructure some of our bigger events like the Commerce Week and expand our marketing efforts to better reach our variety of students. Moreover, I want to implement valuable workshops on networking, business attire, business etiquette, as well as introduce a back-to-biz thrift shop where students can buy and sell their secondhand used professional clothing, all in all to remove any barriers that students may feel when it comes to professional development. Secondly, I want to make students feel that they can achieve and excel at whatever they choose to do at Asper. I want to put your best interests at the forefront of all my decisions and foster a culture of growth within the CSA and making sure that we're making an impact in every event and initiative we choose to do. That means providing the right resources and support. With the addition of the new academics portfolio, there is so much potential to better assist our students. I plan to expand our tutoring services and implementing monthly group sessions for major Asper courses and creating an online tutoring directory where students will be able to reach out for individual help. Additionally, I want to continue regular monthly meetings with the Dean to bring forth student concerns and impact. I know firsthand how much our Dean's office truly cares about students, and I hope to work closely with Bruno and his team to make sure that your voice is heard. Finally, I want to highlight our students and the unique advantage we have being a part of the tight-knit Winnipeg business community. There are so many talented individuals here at Asper, and I want to make sure that you're getting a platform that you deserve to shine. I plan to implement a student showcase where we can celebrate our achievements and feature local entrepreneurial students and their new ventures. Further, I want to introduce a student discount card to ameliorate a relationship with the local Winnipeg businesses and incentivize students to support local, as well as connect students with recent alumni to showcase the unique career paths available to them post-graduation. As CSA president, my goal is to cater to you, support you, and most of all, advocate for you, as I'm determined to give my full effort in formulating initiatives that truly help you create your own community and legacy. And I hope you give me the opportunity to do so by voting in this election. Once again, my name is Mae Ferrer, and I would be incredibly honored to be your next CSA president. Thank you.
Thank you to the both of you for delivering your speeches. Again, it takes a lot of courage to get up here and share your platform. So let's give them one more round of applause. Okay, so we will move into the Q&A portion. And for questions for the President Q&A, we will be using the same Slido, so the code and everything is the same. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a fun question here. I know this question is a little bit more specific to the President's responsibilities, but what are your both's thoughts on the lack of microwaves here at the Drake Center?
Yeah, stop bringing food that need to be heated just because there's no microwave in Asper. But I think there needs to be more microwaves in Asper as well as like in accessible areas, so that students can just go there. There are no big lineups and stuff like that. So that's a big issue that needs to be addressed by any president for the CSA with the dean's office to make sure that the like every floor has at least one microwave, not only in just like places which are locked and stuff like that. So students can get access to more like microwaves, and they can bring homemade food instead of just going out and buying food every day during their university life.
Yeah, I do think that there is a need for more of student commons within like Asper in terms of like study spaces as well as student resources when it comes to accessibility like microwaves and all of that. I think it's something that we need to look forward as the CSA, especially since they're doing renovations currently within the building, towards implementing more common areas and more places where students can congregate, socialize, and get some of the resources like as simple as like utensils, tissues, forks, like all of those things that could be useful to students coming from school, like just a central location where you can get all of those resources.
Awesome. So we'll start off with Betty for this next question. With the increasing costs of operations, how do you plan on obtaining funding for your initiatives? Will this include cutting existing costs or expecting other external funding?
I think taking a very proactive approach at the beginning of the year and looking at the current state of the CSA when it comes to events and initiatives and where we are currently putting our money towards is the first thing I would do as CSA president. It's not the notion of sort of cutting events, but sitting down as an exec team and sort of evaluating which events truly give students value and which events that students are really gaining value and getting feedback that, hey, I really like this event, I gain value from it, I would like you to encourage that. And just looking towards restructuring how we better access some of those students as well. Like I said, sort of restructuring the Commerce Week is something I really want to do as president, and making sure that every student, whether they're 18, like different backgrounds and all of that, in terms of making sure that they can reach all of those. So I wouldn't say cutting funding would be for my ideas, but there are definitely alternative sources, especially when it comes to my initiatives, like the Back to Biz thrift shop. It's a lot of connection, like I said, with the local business community. So it's a big collaborative effort between the executive team and also external stakeholders.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like a complete reevaluation of CS's event and initiatives needs to be done. But saying that, it also needs to be. So it's also important that you bring that topics to the dean's office, make them understand why it's important. For example, international students, they are such a big part of our community, and we CSS still offers like international scholarships, which needs to be increased because the large number of international students and students from different backgrounds are coming into Asper, and we need to recognize that, and we need to make sure that more opportunities, funding opportunities, and more scholarships are there. Yeah, you can cut funding, that will help you, but you also need to make sure that you're also, having more resources in for that cause.
Thank you. The next question is asking, how will you work to keep the voice of Asper students heard by AMSU?
I think working closely with the advocacy rep is the most important thing that any president should do. And advocacy rep is a position that wasn't really in the limelight from the past years. And right now, people are getting interested in that position, but not just because they want to get their voice heard in the AMSU meetings, but also they are the voice of every Asper students that cannot go to AMSU straight away and just like get their voices heard. But making sure that you're working closely with the advocacy rep and making sure that those concerns are being heard by the right people, not just like going out and just like saying those things, but like right people needs to hear about those right issues so that they can create concrete solutions for that, and every Asper student can be helped with that.
Awesome. No, I totally agree with what Amrit said. I would plan to also work closely with our advocacy rep and sort of setting sort of the goals and just constantly communicating with them in order to better understand what like AMSU's perspective and the things that they can bring towards the CSA. I would also strive to do a meeting with the newly elected AMSU president. We did a meeting recently with the current AMSU president, Jaron Rakes, at the middle of our terms, where we just got to provide sort of the CSA's input, the perspective of how we do and how AMSU can better support us. So I would sit down with the newly elected president just to go over our strategic vision and how we can work collaboratively to get our initiatives through.
The next question is, how would you encourage new students to join the CSA or STAGs when they feel that they don't stand up to others? Maybe an individual who has more experience, but they really want to go for a specific position.
I think that it's important that we emphasize that through our recruitment process. Currently, a lot of the students that we get as VPI, I've seen the recruitment process in the last year, a lot of students that we get have been priorly involved and they've seen what the CSA does, but there's a good portion of students who don't really know what the CSA does, who just come to class. And I think that it's important that we reach out from the top down when it's executive recruitment, general counsel recruitment, committee recruitment, that the CSA representatives and those who are elected as positions go to each individual classroom and give a classroom talk like, hey, this is the CSA, these are the benefits that you can get, these are the skills that you'll be able to receive in the community that you'll be able to build. And I think that being the person to take that initiative and go out and do that will better increase the amount of students that we have with new perspectives and bring diversity into the CSA.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's so important to engage new students so that they join the CSA. But my viewpoint is that as important is to hire or like get people into CSA, it's mostly important to make their journey easy as well. So for example, if you hire a student from a diverse background into CSA, you got your goal complete, but what about their journey throughout the year? Someone made a joke that they don't understand, someone talked about a TV series that they don't see because it's not so much prevalent in the country. So you need to keep those things in mind, and you need to make sure that their journey is as easy as their hiring process. I know, like we talk about a lot, like we have that agenda that while hiring the people from diverse backgrounds so that there is no repetition, but we need to also make sure that the journey is as easy as their hiring process.
Thank you for your answers. The next question says, both of you brought forward many great initiatives. How do you plan to allocate these responsibilities to make sure they are incorporated during your term?
Yeah, so I think any president will need to do like making sure that these campaign points needs to be addressed throughout the year, not only just when they're bound to happen. So if you're talking about any event or initiatives, not just think about it while like 1 month away from the event. Think about it during the start of your term, because these are not just campaign points. These are the pillars of CSA. These are the pillars of ASPA community. And not only like if you are saying like, oh, that's another candidate platform I cannot use, because that's for benefits of the ASPA students. So you need to make sure that you're working in from the start, even before your transition, so that you're thinking about it, so you have a game plan with it for it, or you have a strategic vision how it will be, how it will end up during your year, and make sure that these things come to light and these things happen, so they're not just like vanishing in the air.
No, I totally agree. I think that with my plan, I would sit down and strategize with my executive team at the beginning of the year, like, hey, these are our strategic priorities throughout the year. How are we going to achieve them? And then delegating along that way. Just because I am these are all my ideas, but at the end of the day, I'm one person, and it won't be possible without the collaboration of everybody. So sitting down, like some of my biggest initiatives that I mentioned on my platform is the big tutoring services and the big push for academics and ameliorating that. I would sit down with our new VP of academics and sort of hear their thoughts on what they want to see like throughout the year, and then sort of coming up with a game plan. When are we, like, who are we getting for tutors? What are we, what's the timeline of implementation for this? How are we going to get ready for like the beginning of the school year? And like, how are we going to better ameliorate like our students, the study spaces, all of that? It would be a lot of strategic planning with that, and they would delegate to their team as well. And then with my idea for more accessible business professional clothing, so the Back to Biz thrift shop, I think it's something that I would work alongside either our VPI or our VP of community, just getting their thoughts on that, because it is a big collaboration when it comes to getting sort of the big lot of clothing first. Where are we going to get that? I put in a lot of thought of that, and I was thinking that we could reach out to local businesses who have secondhand clothing, so either Plato's Closet or Clothify or any other of those, but also reaching out to our recently graduated alumni. A lot of them are working in the corporate field right now and have old used business professional clothing that they would be able to donate just to the thrift shop and give it back to the community that they were in for so many years, and empower people to break down those barriers when it comes to professional development and networking.
Perfect. So the next question is really catered to the president role. As you both know, that the president is the main point of contact for the dean's office, and you work closely with them throughout the year. How will you balance the interests of the dean's office and the students?
I think just being that middle person, sort of having those conversations with each of the parties. A lot of the times when, as BPI, I've been in Dean's office meetings in my past year, and it's understanding, sort of bringing forth the student perspective and concern first, and sort of hearing out what the Dean's office has to say, what are the next steps when it comes to that. And I think that just bringing that forward and mediating a lot of the interests of both parties would be successful in making sure that we're balancing sort of the Dean's priorities and sort of aligning as well, aligning that with our strategic priorities as well throughout the year.
So as my current role as the Vice President of Corporate Relations, I am mediating like all my job. Like I'm mediating with the corporate partners to help benefit the students, but also making sure that they are also happy. So I think that skill will really come in hand. But when you enter the Dean's office for the meeting, you need to make sure that you know that you are a student first and then a president, because it's how it will, like you will need to make sure that students' voices are being catered to the Dean's office and making sure that concrete solutions are being made. But you also need to make sure that how can you find a middle ground. You don't want to just barge into the door and say like, hey, we want this, we want that, because those things never happen. So you need to mediate the ground, and you need to make sure that both parties are being heard of, and making sure that what's best for the students and what's best for the faculty as well.
Thank you for your answers. The next question is, how will you encourage international students to be more active?
I think, as I said before, it's really, really important that making their journey easy, just because entering through the door is not as important as making the journey easy. So I think using other platforms other than Instagram, because Instagram is great, as per CSA has done a lot through Instagram, but using other platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, because those things are really popular in other countries, making sure that we use that efficiently so that other people also know who don't have an Instagram account. They don't want to be on Instagram, so that they also know about what's happening inside Asper, not only people who have an account on Instagram, and making sure that we have a centralized website, and making sure that we are like, what I thought, it's like making sure to add a language different button on the website, so that people can go to the website and just change the language, so that if they are not, like, English is not their first language, they can change it to any language they want and just read what's on there and just like get to know about our events and initiatives.
No, I agree with all that Amrit said. When it comes to different social media platforms, I think it would be very beneficial to do a survey at the beginning of the year, sending it out to all our students, just asking which platforms and which best forms of communication that we can do to reach them, and that will better cater to our variety of students. I also think that being proactive with our recruitment process and making people aware of what Asper is and the CSA is so important. So reaching out to sort of local Winnipeg high schools and giving talks about like, hey, this is the Asper School of Business, this is the involvement opportunities, this is what you can do with your degree, and also reaching out to like the like ICM and making sure that international students are aware of this is what is waiting for you if you want to apply for Asper. There's so much opportunities available, and that you'll be able to grow if you choose to join us here at Asper.
Awesome. So, when hiring for your executive team next year, if selected as president, what kind of qualities would you look for?
I was part of the executive recruitment process last year as vice president internal, and I think that the things that you really do look for when it comes to a CSA executive is that strong strategic vision when it comes to your role. I want to be able to see that you have a plan in place for how you want your year to look like, because the more you put into your role, the more you'll get out of it, and the more the students will appreciate and feel your impact on the student body. And I think that also that passion aspect is super important when it comes to CSA executives, because that passion, as much as you'll have plans throughout the year, there'll be some hiccups, there'll be some bumps, but that passion is truly what gets you through the year in making sure that you fulfill your exec term and you get all the initiatives that you choose to do through the finish line.
I think CSA as a whole is a very collaborative association. You work with people a lot, you work with students, so a passion to help students, or specifically Asper students, needs to be there when you are applying for executive positions or even journal council members, because it's all about working with people. So if you're good with people, you'll be doing a good job. Strategic vision is as important as working with people, because you will have a team of yourself. You will be working with teams. You will be working with other portfolios as well. You will be having a lot of discussions and arguments, but you need to make sure that you find a mediate ground, and you talk about how this can benefit students, and then talk about how it can benefit my portfolio or my position.
Awesome. So what do you think is your biggest strength that you would bring to the president role next year if elected?
I think as we talked a lot about that CSA has a lot of repetition. So as my role as the VPCR this year, I brought an outside vision to CSA and how we can do things, because it's not like you have to do what was done last year. You have to change a lot of things, and a lot of things were changed, and some of things worked out, some of things don't. But like having an outside vision is very important, and I think that makes me a very good candidate for the president. Bringing that perspective from an international student and also coming from a diverse background, I think that's very needed to be done, so that more people can be engaged to CSA or ASPA school or even the faculty.
Awesome. I think a quality that I would most bring as CSA president would be sort of my passion for the organization. I've been involved since my first year here at Asper, starting as a first year representative, going to Shinorama co-chair, and now vice president internal. And that drive and that passion for caring for students, for making sure that they have a voice in every room or any decision I make will be my greatest strength when it comes to president. I love talking with students. I love hearing from you. I love bouncing ideas back and forth between students, hearing that discourse, because that's how change is made. It's having those hard conversations and having those important conversations to move those ideas forward, because diverse thought is truly what takes the CSA from what it is today into something bigger. And I don't know currently what that is, but it's definitely something that I want to collaborate with all of you in making sure that the CSA is accessible to you, and making sure that you get the most out of your roles and you get the most out of your student experience here at Asper.
Awesome. Okay, so we have time for one last question. There were a lot of questions about the lack of food services in Drake. If elected as president, how would you both plan to address those issues?
I talked to a few students actually about this throughout the week, and I think it's something that we would have to collaborate 100% with the dean's office about. I know in previous years we used to have a cafeteria here. I think it's important that we sort of bring that back into the conversation, because students, when they want to receive any like food or any like drinks or any refreshments before coming back from class, they have to walk all the way to either Defoe or like University Center. I think that having a centralized sort of food location where we can have like either snacks, like refreshments, all of that stuff will actually bring more students into the building and encourage them to study here and use our spaces. And that, in a sense, will also make them aware sort of the involvement opportunities that we have here at Asper. So either like the CSA, STAGs, case comps, like people, if we can bring more people into the building, we can get more involvement. And it's something I'd definitely be open to towards talking with our dean's office about, and finding sort of the funds and the capacity to bring that into the Asper building.
No, it's definitely important to bring back the cafeteria into the conversation, but I also think that having vending machines all around break set is very important, because when students business students are busy, like they don't have time to just sit and eat, but sometimes they just want to pick snack. They just want to pick snack between the classes. So if you see a vending machine just outside on third floor, you'll just go and pay and get a bar or something like that. So I think vending machines are very important. Cafeteria is a long-term goal, because it includes faculty, construction, everything like that. But having the vending machines is a very realistic goal that can be completed within 1 year's term, and I think that's where I'll be starting.
Thank you for your answers, both of you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the Q&A. But again, feel free to reach out to Betty and Amrit if you have any further questions about their platform, or if you're curious about anything. Let's give them one more hand of applause.